coronavirus. Officials scramble to contain the first major outbreak in Europe. A huge spike in cases in Italy, where tens of thousands of people are now on lockdown. Venice's famed carnival shut down. Cities turned into ghost towns. And back here at home, the battle now raging over where to quarantine American patients with the virus.
Bernie's big win. The Democratic frontrunner scores a huge victory in Nevada, but now facing backlash for what he said about Cuba's Fidel Castro in an interview overnight, defending some of the dictator's programs as he eyes a win in South Carolina, where Joe Biden seeks to turn around his campaign. And happening right now, President Trump taking India by storm, holding a mega rally this morning at the world's largest cricket stadium. More than 100,000 people pack the stands. Our team is there live.
Winter blast. Two storm systems now on a collision course, about to combine and wreak havoc on the Midwest. Millions bracing for the biggest snowstorm of the season.
Missing sibling mystery. This newly released doorbell cam video capturing what may be the last known images of J.J. Ballo before he and his sister vanished. Now their mom under arrest in Hawaii, and what police found in her rental car.
Royal Rumble. Harry and Meghan's blistering new message to the palace as they prepare to return to London together for the first time since the royal exit.
And the 42-year-old Zamboni driver turned emergency goalie, making his NHL debut, getting the win, and setting a record. What he's telling GMA about having the time of his life.
I'm Dave Ayers, and Good Morning America.
Live in Times Square, this is Good Morning America.
He definitely is having a good morning. David Ayers, good morning, everyone. Hope you had a good weekend. How about that incredible moment on the ice? He has a really, really special story. Did you know that he is a kidney transplant thriver? And now the team is doing something to help others.
That is a great story. We'll have all the details ahead, but we begin with the coronavirus emergency. Financial markets around the world rocked overnight amid new concerns about the spread of the virus. Now more than 79,000 cases confirmed worldwide. More than 2,600 people have died.
Cases skyrocketing in South Korea, more than 830 confirmed there. And in Iran, at least 12 people have died, while Italy is seeing the worst outbreak outside of Asia. 219 people have been infected there, and 5 people have died. James Longman is there starting us off this morning. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. This is the front line of the fight against coronavirus in Italy. If you like, down this road here, these are the 12 towns which are on lockdown. We've been told, actually, if we go over this line, we'll end up in quarantine ourselves. We've been watching as the police have been checking cars, making sure that no one's coming from those towns. More than 150 cases, as you say, 5 people dead now in Italy, and the hunt is on for patient zero. This morning, Europe on edge, as Italy sees the number of people infected with the novel coronavirus soar to more than 150 cases, the most outside of Asia. About a dozen northern Italian towns are now in lockdown. Normally bustling medieval villages turned into virtual ghost towns, as experts scramble to identify the source of the outbreak, which has so far killed 5. We spoke to Rosella on lockdown with her family.
There are lots of elderly people, mostly, and there are babies. I've got a 3-week-old cousin, so we're scared for them. We have to wear masks or maybe a scarf or something. You have to have your mouth covered.
Elsewhere, officials in Venice cancelling the rest of the city's famed Carnival festival. Officials in Milan, Italy's fashion and financial capital, taking extreme precautions.
People are stocking up on food, and people are scared to use public transportation.
This fashion show by Giorgio Armani deserted. It had to be streamed instead. Models walking the runway in a room full of empty chairs. And as officials and health experts fight to contain the virus in Europe, it continues its spread around the world. In Iran, at least 12 have died due to the COVID-19 virus this month. So far, confirmed cases in up to 5 cities, including the capital, Tehran. In South Korea, the numbers now surging. More than 160 new cases overnight, bringing the total of infected to more than 760. The president putting the country on red alert, the highest level for infectious diseases. About half the cases have been linked to a local church in Daegu, South Korea's 4th largest city. Schools are closed and people have been warned to avoid large gatherings.
The government's kind of advised people to stay inside to wear masks.
In the U.S., emotions running high at this council meeting in Anniston, Alabama. Locals fighting back over plans to quarantine infected passengers from the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan at a nearby FEMA facility, announcing Sunday it was backing down.
It spreads from here, it's going to spread everywhere else.
Meanwhile, a judge in California issuing a temporary restraining order to halt the use of a facility in Costa Mesa to quarantine infected patients.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's putting more people at risk.
Now, global markets are down and the Dow is poised to open down as well. The lockdown that we've seen here in these towns could be a kind of prototype for how we see this virus being tackled both in Europe and in the United States. George?
Yeah, it continues to spread. Okay, James, thanks very much. The race for the White House now, and that big victory this weekend for Bernie Sanders. The Democratic frontrunner now after capturing 47% of the vote at the Nevada caucuses, setting up what could be a decisive showdown with Joe Biden in South Carolina just 5 days away. Eva Pilgrim is in Charleston, South Carolina with the latest. Good morning, Eva.
Good morning, George. For the first time this election cycle, the Democrats have a clear frontrunner. Bernie Sanders not just winning in Nevada, but winning big. This as we're about to hit the busiest stretch of the campaign season yet.
This morning, feeling the burn.
I am a U.S. Senator, and I got a big ego, and I appreciate the Bernie. But it ain't Bernie, it is us.
Bernie Sanders dominating in Nevada, using that momentum to propel him into South Carolina and Super Tuesday. Sanders not only taking the silver state, but besting his rivals among Latinos, winning both men and women, college and non-college graduates, and even scoring votes from moderates. The Democratic Socialist admits this wave of success is surprising even him.
Yes, that is a bit shocking, I will agree.
But a potential stumble amid his surge in popularity. Sanders drawing criticism for comments on communist leader Fidel Castro.
We're very opposed to the authoritarian nature of Cuba. But it's unfair to simply say everything is bad. When Fidel Castro came into office, you know what he did? He had a massive literacy program. Is that a bad thing? Even though Fidel Castro did it?
Joe Biden now hitting harder on Sanders' electability.
I don't think he can beat Donald Trump and keep a Democratic Senate, get a Democratic Senate and keep a Democratic House.
Biden making what could be his last stand in the Palmetto State. It's do or die for the former vice president. Biden's camp saying since the start that the road to the nomination would come through South Carolina. Now we wait to see if his firewall will hold here.
What I'm expecting is to make the case to the people here in South Carolina that they have an opportunity to essentially determine who the next president is.
Biden not the only one needing to have a good night in South Carolina. Others in that crowded field of moderates feeling the pressure to prove themselves or risk simply knocking each other out, clearing the path for Sanders.
My parents taught me of hard work.
And looming over them all, Mike Bloomberg, the former New York mayor skipping the first four contests, focusing on the delegate-rich Super Tuesday states. Bloomberg spending $381 million in ads so far.
And it really is crunch time. South Carolina this weekend. 8 days from now is Super Tuesday, where about a third of the delegates are up for grabs, making this week's debate even more important, George.
Yeah, another big one tomorrow night. Meantime, as you said, South Carolina is must-win for Joe Biden, and he's hoping to score a key endorsement this week.
That's right, George. ABC News has heard from multiple sources that they expect House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn will endorse Joe Biden. George, you know that is a big get for the former vice president.
Most prominent Democrat in the state. Okay, Eva, thanks very much. Robin?
And George now oversees to President Trump's trip to India, his first visit there since taking office, seeing the world's largest democracy, meeting with the Indian Prime Minister. Cecilia Vega is traveling with the president and has more details for us. Good morning, Cecilia.
Hi, Robin. Good morning to you. This was President Trump's largest rally ever. This beat his rallies back home by tens of thousands of people. I've got to tell you, I've never seen anything like what we witnessed here today. 100,000 people plus waiting in the blistering heat as if this was a rock concert, except they were here to see President Trump.
President Trump's arrival in India this morning filled with the spectacle he so loves, including a photo op at the Taj Mahal. Lining the roads as his motorcade passed, larger-than-life posters of him and the First Lady. Thousands packing the streets, but none of that compared to the massive rally the Indians delivered, giving President Trump exactly what he loves most and a massive crowd to go with it.
President Trump's trip to India starts right here. This is the largest cricket stadium in the world. 100,000 people all here to see Donald Trump.
A Make America Great Again rally, India style. They even blasted Macho Man before the president took the stage, and when he did, a show of affection for India's prime minister.
Namaste, Trump.
Namaste. Namaste. America loves India. America respects India.
President Trump hoping to highlight America's partnership with one of the world's largest economies. He's also hoping to announce a major weapons deal. And as he heads into a re-election campaign, it's a chance for him to try and woo the more than 4 million Indian Americans back home.
Donald Trump, you like Donald Trump?
Yeah!
Even if he's already managed to win over the 100,000 people here.
You think he's going to win?
100%.
What do you like about Donald Trump?
He tells the truth.
Now, this visit here to India is not one that's going to be heavy on substance. The trade deal that the White House had hoped to announce is not likely to happen, at least not during this visit. But certainly for this president who considers himself a showman, got the show that he came for here today, Robin.
Looks that way. Okay, Cecilia, thank you. Michael?
All right, Robin, now to the big public memorial getting underway for Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna. The sold-out event at LA Staples Center honoring them and the 7 other people who died in that helicopter crash last month. TJ Holmes is at the Staples Center with more this morning. Good morning, TJ.
Hey, good morning to you from the place that's affectionately referred to as the house that Kobe built. Staples Center, the site of so many of his career highlights, where he won championships, where his jerseys hang in the rafters, and today it's the place where the public gets to say goodbye, billed as a celebration of life to honor Kobe and his daughter Gianna, who died along with 7 others in that helicopter crash about a month ago. 20,000 tickets were sold, handed out to this event. An official program was not put out for the event, so we do not know for sure who exactly is going to attend. You can expect some of his friends, some people from his life, his teammates to be here, but a question whether or not his wife Vanessa, who has put out some statements on Instagram since that helicopter crash, she has not made a public appearance, so all eyes will be on that stage to see if she does come out along with the 20,000 others to honor Kobe and Gianna. Michael.
All right, TJ, a lot of people will be there to show their respect, to pay their respect. Thank you so much. And you can watch the memorial on ABC News Live starting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern right here on ABC. George?
Okay, Michael, we're going to get the latest now on the Harvey Weinstein trial. We could get a verdict as early as this morning. The jury heads back into deliberations after ending last week by suggesting they agree on some charges, still deadlocked on others. Ariel Reshef is at the courthouse here in Manhattan. Good morning, Ariel.
Good morning to you, George. Harvey Weinstein's fate still hangs in the balance as jurors enter their second week of deliberations in his high-profile case. He faces 5 felony counts stemming from the allegations from 2 women in this case. But on Friday, that shocking turn from the jury asking the judge if they could be deadlocked on the 2 most serious charges, but unanimous on the other 3. Those 2 most serious charges, count 1 and 3, predatory sexual assault, require that all 12 jurors believe at least one of the 2 accusers in this case and the bombshell testimony of actress Annabella Sciorra. But her case is beyond the statute of limitations. The judge ordering the jury to go back to deliberations to reach a consensus. We expect that could happen sometime today. Now, Harvey Weinstein has pleaded not guilty. He maintains that all of the encounters have been consensual, but those most serious charges, George, could put him behind bars for life. George.
Okay, Ariel, thanks very much. Let's bring in our chief legal analyst, Dan Abrams, for more on this. So how do you read this back and forth between the judge and the jury on Friday?
So let's be clear. There are 3 basic accusers here. There are the 2 primary ones, and those are what the 3 charges that it seems they've reached agreement are about. You would think that what this means is that the jury has reached a verdict with regard to those 2. Why? Because those are the less serious charges here. In order to get one of the more serious charges, the ones where they seem to be hung up, you would need one of the 2 primary accusers plus the 3rd woman, Annabella Sciorra. So for any of the more serious charges, you need to believe 2. So you would think, okay, so they've probably agreed on the lesser ones, and they're hung up on whether they can convict on the most serious charge. I'm not so convinced that's what's happened here. I think, based on what we've seen from the jurors, from the notes...
Those notes back and forth.
Yes, the notes that they've sent back in terms of what they're looking to hear again, that they may be trying to look for a way to still convict, that maybe they did acquit, because the most compelling witness here was Annabella Shora. And yet she's not the one they're allowed to convict on just by herself.
But she's the backup for the most serious charge.
Exactly. So maybe they're looking for a way to figure out somehow to get a conviction, even though they've acquitted.
Dan Abrams, thanks very much. Robin?
And George, now to that unexpected moment on the ice. A 42-year-old Zamboni driver, David Ayres, getting to live out his NHL dream. Called into a professional game as the emergency goalie and getting credited with the win. He spoke to GMA overnight. Will Reeve here with more on all that. Good morning, Will.
Good morning, Robin. Saturday was the 40-year anniversary of the U.S. beating the Soviet Union in the Miracle on Ice. So how fitting, then, that another miracle happened on Saturday. This one, David Ayres, the emergency backup goalie, not even on the team, coming into an NHL game and making history.
The goaltender's down. In the heat of a battle for a spot in the NHL playoffs, on Saturday, the Carolina Hurricanes were faced with a rare emergency. Oh, what a collision here! Both their starting and backup goalies got injured against the Toronto Maple Leafs, leaving them with one option. And no, not a player on the bench, but 42-year-old David Ayres, the emergency goalie who drives the Zamboni for the Maple Leafs minor league affiliate.
Just standing in the stands and one goalie goes down, other goalie goes down, and that guy comes into the room and he says, put your gear on and put the rest of your gear on. It's time to go out there.
Still in shock, Ayres gears up and makes his NHL debut. Not many people, including apparently Hurricanes coach Rod Brindamore, had high expectations. After a rough start, giving up 2 quick goals, Ayres closed out the game with the performance of a lifetime.
Went in after the second period and talked to the guys, and they said, just enjoy it, get out there and make some saves, you're good.
Saving 8 of the 10 shots he faced from Toronto's high-powered offense. His new teammates showering him in celebration. Ayres set a record as the oldest goalie in league history to win his NHL debut. The story doesn't stop there. Ayres is also a kidney transplant survivor. The Hurricanes tweeting that they're now working with the overnight sensation in search of a kidney foundation to donate proceeds from the sale of T-shirts bearing his name. But for the Zamboni driver, Saturday night was his own miracle on ice.
They showered me with all the water and all this stuff when I got into the change room. And they were jumping around and they were super pumped up.
The emergency contract that Ayres signed to play in the game was for a grand total of $0. It was basically a tryout contract he had to sign to get on the ice. Hurricanes players, though, reportedly chipped in to help him out and to congratulate him. And he is going to be part of the Hurricanes pregame ceremony tomorrow night.
It's like a movie.
It is like a lot of fun.
He didn't just stand there. He had a lot of saves.
8 out of 10, 80% against a team like that. Pretty good.
But I'm pretty sure the first 2 went in really quickly. The coach said, oh, no. Then he shut him down. Like I said, just like a movie. Congratulations to him.
Okay, thank you, Will. We are following a lot of other stories this morning, including the latest on those missing Idaho siblings. Take a look at this. It is the last known image of J.J. Vallow. We're going to tell you what police now believe as their mother right there wakes up behind bars in Hawaii.
And what NASCAR driver Ryan Newman is saying this morning. We'll get to that. But first, Ginger, back from her trip. Yeah.
Back from Africa, and happy to bring you some, one of the biggest snowstorms Chicago's seen all season, eventually, but Renton, Washington, showing you the critically injured man from the 50-mile-per-hour wind gust there. I will explain more about this storm coming up. Your local weather in 30 seconds. First, the Select Cities, sponsored by Geico.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Everybody knows that.
Well, did you know Pinocchio was a bad motivational speaker?
I look around this room and I see nothing but untapped potential. You have potential. You have... Oh, boy.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car.
A chilly start, but a mild afternoon on this Monday. Some early day sunshine that will fade quickly by late morning and noon. Cloudy conditions, the temperature at noon 53. We're at 58 degrees by 3 p.m. today. And a little lower temperatures tomorrow, but still mild for this time of year. We've got rain for the Tuesday morning rush, and then for Wednesday, mainly late. Could even have some thunder, and then cold and blustery for the end of the work week. High temperature Thursday, 46. 46, 45 on Friday with sunshine.
I believe we are very close. Oh, is it really? This is it.
Dr. Emmett Brown.